So much to cover today with Kyle, Todd, and Dan. First off, is it a war or is it not? Kidding.
Toolsy, I'm going to let you handle I'm going to let you handle the geopolitics on today's show, unless we're going to talk about the global implications that could unfold on the diamond from everywhere from Puerto Rico to Houston, Texas later on this Wednesday.
I want to start with the big news in sports, and that is 83 points were scored in the NBA last night.
Does it count if you have an 83-point game against the Washington Wizards, who have not been relevant since the late 70s when they leaned into the nickname the Washington Bullets, which has since changed? Never great when an opposing head coach comes out and say what we saw in the fourth quarter wasn't basketball, and you're fouling to extend the games so Bam Adebayo can usurp Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Has there ever been a more unlikely candidate to put that many points on the board? Who saw this coming?
I mean, he's not going to go down in the annals of NBA history, potentially as a Hall of Famer, but he at least has participated for the national team in some capacity. I think he's got a gold medal or a world championship, something from a global distinction that he can hang his hat on. But no, to your point, Kyle, Bam Adebayo will not be mentioned in the same breath as other players who have gotten to this point total or higher. He will not be on the same level as Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, although amazing that there wasn't video footage of that in a game played in Hershey, Pennsylvania, Michael Jordan's 60-plus point performance, or any of the other offensive explosions that we have seen in the National Basketball Association previously.
Makes us think of Bam Bam Bigelow, and before you ask, he passed away in 2007 at the age of 45. That's Bam Bam Bigelow, former wrestling superstar who had a head that was bald and it was all tattoos, and his costume was just all flames.
I mean, he had the look. He had to try and sell it, but I had no idea, Toolsy, that I'm glad you brought in a somber note to this, that he passed away at the age of 45.
Well, any wrestler from that era is more than likely passed away.
How dare you insinuate that those wrestlers did anything outside the boundaries of normal biological science to build themselves up to some of those Herculean type levels that we grew accustomed to in wrestling's heyday?
Sorry.
So, Todd, Dan opened today questioning whether or not there's a war going on, but what about the questioning as to whether or not the WBC is a tournament in which you can advance or is just an all-star break? What is going on with this completely disinterested Team USA squad?
I mean, it's no different than what we see, unfortunately, from Team USA in a lot of international competitions where you have a bunch of high-priced vigilantes that are out there and don't see it as anything that they should get excited about. I mean, the overall apathy that we've seen for Team USA when it comes to building an NBA Olympic roster apparently has carried through to the WBC, and it's a far cry from what we saw from Team USA and their big-time win in the Olympics from men's hockey and the women's hockey side of things. It's one of those things, Kyle, that drives you absolutely nuts. I know the WBC doesn't carry the same allure of winning an Olympic gold medal or anything else along those lines, but it's yet another illustration of why, when you look at professional athletes, hockey players are cut from a different cloth than what they get from their NBA counterparts. And of course, we're seeing from Major League Baseball as well.
But Todd, sorry, Dan, Todd, can I push back on that for not to you, but just the general notion? Because teams, players from other teams and other nations saying this means as much to them as a World Series berth.
100%. And you're seeing how electric some of these environments are down in Puerto Rico, how important it is. And again, not quite sure how Puerto Rico, which is an American territory, has its own representative. But again, different discussion for a different day. We've seen what's gone on with the Dominican team and a lot of these other clubs that are out there. I mean, Francisco Cervelli saying that that was the biggest win he's ever been a part of in any capacity. Somewhere out there, George Steinbrenner is rolling over in his grave knowing this was one of the top battery mates that they had wearing Yankee pinstripes. But you do love to see it from some of these other countries that are participating in the event. We've seen a sold-out Tokyo Dome and for Team Japan. It's just Team USA and the red, white, and blue, and it shouldn't be every player on that roster that feels that way. There are some that do care about this, but it has been a little bit discouraging, and maybe that served as a wake-up call. If they're able to advance to the quarterfinals, that they'll treat it a little bit more seriously when you get to the single elimination portion of the tournament, because it would be an embarrassment if they find themselves on the outside looking in with Team Mexico and Team Italy advancing out of pool play.
I was also wondering why Puerto Rico, American territory, had its own team. But also Puerto Rico, who has one of the most stylish humans on earth, Bob Bunny, and they have the worst designed uniforms in the tournament. It looks like they were designed in about 3 minutes.
Hey, sometimes you got to scramble to get things done here. And who knows, maybe Team Puerto Rico wasn't sure if they were going to be able to participate in the tournament. And now that everything will shift out of Puerto Rico, out of the Far East, and some of the other venues, everything is stateside. Who knows if they're going to be able to actually compete once they get to the knockout phase of the tournament.
So, Todd, there's a lot going on in the WBC, but I want to turn attention to hockey just for a minute because I'm sure you have lots to say about the very fine performances that have been put on by the Toronto Maple Leafs since the Olympic break.
Hey.
I mean, do I really want to take the low-hanging fruit here, Kyle? I mean, it's a
Please.
team that is clearly playing out the string right now. Austin Matthews may not score a goal the remainder of the NHL regular season. What we saw in the Olympics when he was willing to go to the greasy areas to try and find a way to get an ugly goal or two seems to be a distant memory. And we get visions of the quality night together that you and I spent on Las Vegas Boulevard, where Austin Matthews couldn't be bothered to back check in 3-on-3 overtime. You're getting vestiges of that now. Clearly, this is a Leafs team that wants to go out there and try and improve their draft position, because if they didn't, they would have already parted ways with Craig Berube. They would have tried to bring a new voice into the room. The problem is for the Leafs, you look at the moves they made at the deadline, which, by the way, Scott Lawton looking like the second coming of Wayne Gretzky now, donning the silver and black as a member of the Los Angeles Kings, that this isn't going to be a quick rebuild by any stretch of the imagination. It's not going to be a Chris Drury-like retooling. There's not a lot of foot speed on this team. You don't have much in the way of puck movers on the back end. And it feels, for all intents and purposes, you have two superstars up front that, quite frankly, don't like each other. So I think the Leafs have to figure out all available options that are going to be presented to them this offseason. And if it means moving on from an Austin Matthews or a William Nylander, if they're given a Godfather type deal, it's got to be considered, because you look everywhere else in the Atlantic Division. Ottawa, in my opinion, is not going away, although they'll have to figure things out. Brady Tkachuk. This is a Sabres meteoric rise with a relatively young roster. The Canadiens are headed in the right direction. The Red Wings are what they are. And we know the Bruins don't stay down for long. So if you're a Leafs fan, you can handle a blip on the radar missing the postseason for the first time in nearly a decade. But I'm not sure there's that ray of hope coming through that you can get a bounce back season in 2027 and beyond, given the talent they currently have under contract.
What's the futures board say about the Leafs firing their coach or GM or both?
Haven't seen a price on Craig Berube to get fired, but have to imagine, Toolsy, they're going to go in a different direction. But to your point, I think the bigger question is, will they allow Brad Treliving to be that guy that tries to build back better? Do they let him hire the next head coach? I mean, we've seen it when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. They just like to blame everything on their head coach and allow a general manager to kind of have carte blanche. We'll see if the Leafs make that similar mistake. But I have to imagine MLSC has a lot of hard questions that they're going to have to answer. And I don't think it's as simple as firing a head coach, bringing a new voice in behind the bench going forward.
So, Todd, talking about the Leafs makes me sad. So I'm going to turn the attention back to baseball for a minute here. I was looking at Bet Rivers this morning, some future lines, future bets, and two home run totals stood out to me, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on them. Bo Bichette's home run total over under is 18.5, which seems low given the protection and the people he'll be batting around in that lineup. And Cal Raleigh, 39.5 is a far cry from what he hit last season.
So don't have strong opinions on Bo Bichette. You mentioned the protection he's going to have in that lineup, which goes a long, long way. But I think everybody that's watched Bo Bichette, especially Jays fans, know it's always about durability. And if he's only going to give you 80 to 90 games, maybe more, does that give you enough of a runway to be able to get to that 19-plus home run threshold? So for me, it's kind of stay away territory. Cal Raleigh's a much different case because, to your point, hit a bevy of home runs, cleared that number by 20 a season ago. But that was kind of a breakout performance. And it felt like everything went right for Cal Raleigh last year as a member of the Mariners. That if you're looking at his total, I would be inclined to make a slight case to go under, figuring that what goes up must come down. And look, can we ignore the simple fact that maybe there's some drama brewing in that Mariners clubhouse? Do the baseball karmic gods smile kindly upon Cal Raleigh, who snubbed Randy Rosarena? And that may be the big reason why Team USA is scuffling, finding themselves on the outside looking in a pool play. You don't tempt the fates as a professional athlete. Sometimes you got to bury the hatchet and be able to coexist with all players that you're going to be sharing a locker room with going forward.
Kyle, you did some digging, and I can't believe the Jays total for wins for the season. The over-under is only 87.5. Furzy, what's with that?
I mean, this is still a team, guys, that came from off the pace last year. That they odds makers have some questions about their ability to go out there to rinse and repeat in a division from top to bottom that might be amongst the most competitive in all of Major League Baseball. The Jays total at 87.5 feels fair, but if I was making a case for a team for or against in the American League East, I think the win total for the Boston Red Sox is a bit lofty. I don't love some of the moves they made this offseason. Yes, Garrett Crochet gives them a true bona fide number one atop the rotation, and he'll be as dynamic as he was last year. But I think this is a team that is poised to underachieve from a win total perspective. So I haven't looked at the most updated numbers at Bet Rivers. I think it was 87.5, 88. But I like the Red Sox under. I think this is a team that may have an 84 win ceiling going into the 2026 season.
Todd, the nation still reels up here in Canada from the losses in the gold medal hockey game. So I'm looking to you, my friend, to give us some hope. Can you please explain to our viewers the scenarios in which the American team could find themselves eliminated from the WBC as soon as today?
Will this provide a salve to the wound, Kyle? Will this
No.
allow Canada to heal if Team USA finds themselves eliminated in pool play for the 2 gold medal overtime games that did not go the way of Team Canada? I can't figure it out for Team USA. I mean, Mark DeRosa making ridiculous comments that wasn't called out by any of the Major League Baseball journalists during his interviews, thinking that they had already punched their ticket through. Now, I'd be lying here, guys. I was a good math student, but I wasn't truly elite that I can honestly figure out every single tiebreaker that comes into play, from runs allowed, runs quotient, that if there's a scenario that it could go to extra innings, that if Mexico scores then, it somehow impacts the tiebreakers a little bit differently. Given the general apathy that we've seen from Team USA, these guys may actually be rooting for Team Mexico to win a low-scoring game and allow them to get back to spring training so they can go through the motions of getting themselves ready for a Major League Baseball grind. And Toolsy can go back to watching videos of Giancarlo Stanton try and go through slow motion running, which is actually sped up a far cry from what we used to see on his favorite TV show, Baywatch, back in the day.
Fun fact, once sat at a VIP table with John Carlos Stanton at All-Star Weekend in San Diego, and it was cordoned off, and the dance floor was right next to the table, so everyone on the dance floor just stood there and stared at John Carlo, and I'm like, "Hey, guys, I'm just here." No one looked, no one glanced my way, but it was a very odd moment. He's almost like a robot that became human.
Was he a larger human then than he is now?
Oh, he's huge. He was massive.
Size and scope.
Massive individual.
It's a big boy. He is a big, big boy, and one who does not skip leg day like the rest of us.
Big boy. Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure, guys.